So happy Friday, everyone. It took me a while to do this. We are going to catch up on this horizontal hive, and this is called the Long Lang. And of course, I did a live feed, which wasn't very good, so now we're going to update you, and guess what else we're going to do today? We're going to install the Saskatraz package bees. So we're showing the apiary here. We've been stuck in cold weather, snow, ice, sleet, rain, everything else. The bees actually arrived on Tuesday. Here it is on Thursday, when we could finally get out and install packages because the temperatures went up to 60 degrees. Just showing you the details again of this Long Lang. It is box-wise, it's only 4 feet, 4 feet 10 inches. And then the roof itself is 5 feet long, and this is my chain that holds it here. Someone had concerns when they saw the chain and said a light breeze would shut your lid there. No light breeze is closing this lid. This thing weighs a lot. It's made by 2x stock. It's nice and heavy, painted inside and out, aluminum clad. And here we are looking at the red oak inserts that compose the top here over the frames, which basically makes an inner cover for the hive. And this is my follow board, also called a division board, and look what's underneath here. I have copper mesh, and that's so that air can pass along the bottom easily, but the bees can't. And also, as we all know, copper is antibacterial. And it's held on with copper nails as well. They're not copper clad, they're actually copper nails. And that's 1.5 inches thick. And it goes right to the top, so when you put these top boards on, these quarter-sawn red oak pieces, they close it up. Also, we have vents in the bottom. There are 3 of them. This is stainless steel mesh, very firm screen there that the bees are going to probably put propolis on. We don't care. There's 3 of them. We control the venting. I'm going to show you that underneath. Again, there's 3 of them, and they are 2 inches in diameter. And then the hole that goes all the way through is 1.5 inches in diameter. So let's look underneath, and I'll show you what those are like. Again, this is made out of full 2x stock, and these are those entry control wheels. So you have wide open, diffused, queen excluder, which doesn't matter here because it's just a vent through the bottom. We already have the stainless steel screen in, and you can close it off all the way, and that's the position they're in now. So when you hit peak summer, you can actually open that up and let it vent through the bottom so your bees can get their honey dehydrated down nice. So we're going to put everything in place, but I want you to see the bee's eye view. Notice they can't pass underneath the divider board, follower board, division board, whatever you want to call it. And that, of course, is just made out of pine. This whole thing is made out of pine, and I know it resembles a coffin. And then we have stainless steel screen on the outside here, really stiff stuff, and look what's stuffed in the hole there. That is a stainless steel scrubby pad that you get for doing your dishes. So what that does is just slows down the air. We don't want fast-moving air through here in the wintertime, but I do want some air movement so we don't get a bunch of condensation inside this Long Langstroth hive cover. Someone else saw that middle strut there and thought it comes down too close to the top so that you couldn't put insulation in. But that 2x4 strut in the middle of the roof is actually only 1.5 inches down from the top, and there is still open space there. There was also some concern about these screws that are sticking in from the side there, that you're going to cut your fingers on them. Actually, they're pretty much out of the way, but I may still grind them off later. And I realize my exposure is too hot here, so we're going to tone that down a smidge before we continue. See, it's blown out there, bad photography. And again, that's how it's supposed to look. And also I've shaved off the edges. Why? So that when you bring the top down and you close it, it closes flush. Because these are over 1 inch thick. Look how rough sawn they are on the bottom. Why am I leaving it that way? Because I want the bees to get up there and propolis the interior surface of their overhead. And that's going to help create a propolis envelope inside this hive, which is antibacterial for the bees. So it's good stuff all the way around. Now we have already set this up with pre-drawn comb. This is Better Comb by Better Bee. These are full-size Langstroth frames, and there is bee space all around them. To the bottom, we have a little over 1/2 inch underneath, and we have 3/8 of an inch to either side of the vertical struts, and of course they rest on this rabbet joint. We're going to open it up and leave enough space so we can dump our package in there, because that's going to be important. And then we're going to slide the follower board and these empty frames up nice and snug, and we've checkerboarded these. And that means empty frame, full frame, empty frame, full frame, and so on. This is the 6-inch long, half-inch tall opening. We're going to have to put an entrance reducer in here because we're installing a brand new package of bees. And of course the support system, 2x12 thwarts. And these go 3 feet into the ground, so friction is going to keep this from sinking any further. And we used really long 3-inch deck screws to connect that to the 2x12 that's on each end. 2x4s running longitudinally. Everything is painted with exterior grade Valspar latex paint. And of course we have the rapid round feeder there because you're going to have to feed your bees when you put in a package. Plus we have bad weather coming in. So before we put the package in, I'm going to go ahead and put these red oak 4-inch wide pieces. They're all interchangeable. It doesn't matter what order they go in. They've all been cut the same. They've all been cut to the same thickness, and they will fit anywhere along the run. Why is that good? Well, because some of them have holes in them. 2 of them have holes in them for a feeder. So we can put the feeder exactly over the brood or wherever we want it to be, summer or winter. And rapid round feeders, of course, are good for liquid or solid feed, dry feed. And again, if you looked in underneath, which I did not show here, over the top of these frames, there is plenty of space for the bees to move over the top of each frame. Someone else asked, why didn't you put acorn frames in here? Well, if you notice, the quarters are tight. I want the bees to be able to cut their vent spaces and vent holes through the comb anywhere they want to place it. And we're going to follow up on that through the year, so we're going to see how they shape things up. So now I think we're pretty good. We're set for the package to be installed. You can see that we've staged everything. I've covered that hole over the what's going to be the brood area there on the left with another piece of extra red oak. That stuff is really heavy, by the way. And now this is the rolled up screen. This is aluminum screen. It's important to use that, not the fabric style. And I'm just going to tuck that into the entrance and create an entrance reducer that also allows air to pass. Because I think we're headed for a warm-up, hopefully. I mean, at the beginning of the week we had snow. So that's enough reduction, and the bees are going to be able to guard that, and they'll come and go as they please, of course. Here's the package. This white plastic thing is called a bee bus. Queen is in there, and she is in a cage that is different from most queen cages in that there are no workers in with her. It's just the queen by herself. This package is extremely healthy. Now keep in mind, this has been in my basement since Tuesday. It's now Thursday when it's going in, and there's hardly any dead bees on the bottom. So the initial health and vigor of this package is fantastic. There's still plenty of syrup in the can. So, and again, these are Saskatraz bees. If you don't know about those, you can look up my Saskatraz introduction video. And I have everything I need here to get them installed. I do have sugar syrup 50-50 with some essential oils mixed in with it, but I really don't need to spritz them because they're actually not that hungry. First thing we're going to do is we're going to pull off this clear plastic cover, because that's what holds the liquid syrup can that came with it in shipment. And also to the right there, you see that little aluminum strip? That's where the queen cage is attached. Now sometimes you'll find that falling through and on the bottom, so if you don't see it right at the top, look for it in the pile of bees inside. So now I'm just going to give this thing a shake and make sure they're away from this feeder can. I'm going to pull that out and restore the plastic thing. Here we go. That's it. Don't bang it on the hive or anything. Just give it a nice shake. They'll fall off of that. And this will allow you to pull it out. Now here's the thing. It's pretty gummed up. That's because the bees have been inside this bee bus for several days. But that's actually not a negative. But what they do is they start to spread their burr comb around. They're starting to create honeycomb just from the sugar syrup that they had. And they even put that all over this queen cage. And look, the bees just love this queen. They're just all over her. They're trying to feed her. So I need to replace this cover because that's not the hole I'm going to use to dump them out. And if you notice, there is an air space underneath of it, so you're not smashing bees when you put that on there. They can move freely under it. And we're going to put that on there, and then I'm going to open up the end. So we're going to show you how to do that. Close that up a little bit. And your instructions would have come under this as well. So I'm just going to take a screwdriver and I'm going to open up the end of the bee bus, and we're going to dump the bees right out into the horizontal hive, the Long Lang. There are other horizontal hive types. The Layens hive would be better for wintertime. The top bar hives are also used, but In this case, we're just using the Long Langstroth design because it's modeled after the Langstroth frames and all the other Langstroth products that fit. Let's get a close look up here of how the bees are behaving towards the queen that's in that cage. Now remember, they've had a lot of time to get acquainted with her, so their body posture and their behavior is trying to attend to the queen. So they're trying to feed her. They're sticking their tongues out. So this queen is actually going to be good to go. There's nothing but a cork in the end. There's no sugar plug. So if you want to slow down her introduction to this colony, you're going to have to get one of those miniature marshmallows. You're going to have to pull that plug out and stick that marshmallow in its place and hang her on one of the frames that's already drawn out with comb so that they can start the brood. So I hung her on a frame back there. That aluminum piece works really well for that. Recently, some people have been sending me designs for queen cage holders, which I don't see a real need for. I'm just going to shake the bees away from one side here, open it up, I'm going to dump them in. By the way, these plastic bee buses make it very easy to introduce your bees. They dump right out. They're not clinging to the screens the way they do with the wooden hives, the wooden boxes, I'm saying, the shipping carton. And they come right out. We're just going to move that around and set it right in front of the entrance. And look at how all the bees naturally are going to the queen cage there. Very good sign. This is a 3-pound package, and they gave me every bit of that. They're in fantastic health. So now I've closed it all up. And I'm sorry about that. I thought my video camera was recording when I released the queen from her cage, but it wasn't. So I did what's called a direct release, and the bees took to her right away. She went right down in between the frames, so the queen cage is no longer in the Long Lang. Now that's a risky move. Your queen can leave if she wants to. I'm counting on her wanting to stay. Then I just leave the box here. They're going to follow that pheromone. How do you know the queen's in there, and how do we know they're advertising her presence? Well, the little abdomens are going to be up in the air, and you're going to see that first segment from the tip of their tail there. See that white patch? That is the Nasonov gland, and they are spreading that queen's pheromone. So actually it's worked to their benefit that they have been in this cage much longer than normal. That's because they have had more time to connect with the queen, to gather her pheromone, to lick her through the screen, and to really become committed to her. Because when they're put in this package, these bees don't know each other. They're not from this queen. They could be a package of any line of bees that they just decided to ship. But you can see all their little tails here. See that little broad patch at the end and the way they're waving the tail and fanning across it? They're spreading the queen's pheromone so the free-flying bees from this package can find their way in. There's a lot of comb already in there, and again, remember that's from the sugar syrup in the can that they shipped with. And they're in great shape. Now this is the first time I've done an installation with a horizontal hive that had inner shims like this thick oak stalk that lays on top. Keep in mind your bees that are in there, if they're trying to get out, they would follow the light. So in this case though, we're trying to get them down inside. So I have this little paintbrush. I thought, if I sweep them towards the hole, I'll just go down in there, and that actually worked. A lot of them did. I can tell you one thing though, this is a game of patience, because once you close the top of this horizontal hive, there's no exit for the bees. They would just be free flying in there, so any that are trapped would just be stuck inside. Someone else mentioned on another video that they thought you should include a bee escape in the cover of your horizontal hive. And that's so that if you closed it up and bees were in there, they could get out. So that would save me a lot of time. Let me be honest, I'm going to look into providing some kind of bee escape, because we know that they're going to follow the light when you close it up. So if there are bees trapped in here, we want them to get out on their own without being stuck. And of course, I have somebody diving into that sugar syrup. And again, this is 50-50 sugar to water. And there is 1 teaspoon per quart of essential oil added to that. So that's just to make sure it doesn't spoil, but I think they're going to consume this pretty well. Now we have to go back to sweeping things off. And remember, these oak pieces that have the hole in them can be placed anywhere along the run, and then I just covered that hole with another piece of red oak. You can use any kind of wood you want, of course. There's nothing magical about red oak, but I do recommend, if you can find it, that you get some rough sawn material. And of course, the rough side that faces the interior of the hive is the most important, because that's the one that the bees are going to put their propolis on. Bees just naturally propolis rough, porous surfaces. And I'm just guessing ahead. I've never had a horizontal hive before, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how they configure their comb, what they propolis, how they set their airflow up inside. And we're going to keep everything in order. And remember, instead of stacking boxes, you just move your follower board and add frames as they start to fill up, and use the frames that are available to them. A lot of people are also asking me, why don't you set it up so that you can stack boxes on it? Well, to me, that's entirely the opposite of the purpose of a horizontal hive to begin with. So the Long Lang in particular is for people that want a static setup that does not require any lifting of boxes. Now that this is established, all you're going to have to do is be able to lift the little cover pieces of wood and pull each frame one by one. You don't have to be physically capable to do this. That's why this is going to be a good hive design for someone who's maybe elderly, someone who has difficulty lifting, problems with their joints. This would even be suitable for someone who's handicapped. And guess what? Notice the height of it. I don't have to bend over at all to work these hives and to work these frames. Now I will say this, if you're in the winter area, just in theory alone, I would say the lay-ins hive with deeper frames would be a better move. But I'm doing the Long Langstroth because that's the one that the most people have been asking me to test out, so that's what we're doing. We have copper flashing on each end too, and that's just to keep rain and wind from being able to drive through the joints there, although there's very little airflow. So now we're just looking at the entrance. Entrance reducer is there, very important. Sugar syrup, very important. And now we're going to see if they claim this box and if they stay here or if they go. I mean, bees have a mind of their own. They're certainly free to go if they want to. But I think they're going to like it. Now, there's nothing inside this box that tells them that it's been inhabited in the past by bees. Everything inside is new. So here we are the following morning. Nice weather here. It's calm. Everything is okay. It's foggy, but we're going to get another warm day. So I'm going to be able to go out, and we're going to see how they're doing. I'm also going to show you some of the other hives in my apiary and what's going on there, because there's some interesting stuff going on. And this video has taken the place of my regular question and answer video for a Friday. So here we are. This is today, Friday, April 24th. Now these videos also will serve to document the progress of the hive, so they're done on the day that the video is recorded. So I was hoping I'd come out here and see a bunch of pollen coming in. I see a bunch of orientation flights going on. They're hovering around. They're going 10, 12, 15 feet away from the hive. And of course, proving that this is stereo, going from one microphone to the other. Also, these heavy-duty hinges that are on the back, we just got those from Home Depot. I'm going to put links in the video description to the items that I used in this hive. And that'll help you out for those of you who are interested in putting one together yourself. This is very basic. There are a lot of jokes about it looking like a coffin in my yard. But let's hope it's not a coffin for the bees. But I don't see any pollen coming in. But I do see a bunch of contented bees. Now here's another hive. This is a flow hive too. And we've also installed Saskatraz bees. Same time. And that's going to be my test group to see if they came with any varroa mites on them. But I have to tell you, in early looks here, I don't think we're going to have much varroa. So we're just showing the activity of all the hives in the apiary here. This is in one location. These guys could probably benefit from an entrance reducer now. Got these two here on the right, one of the oldest hives. They're not super active, but they look like they're doing okay to me. And we're looking at landing board indicators. Any signs of problems here? So there again. Now this apiary has Saskatraz bees and weaver bees. Now this hive here is also brand new. Just set it up, and it's full of a brand new package of Saskatraz bees. I'm going to put a entrance reducer screen on this one also. And look, this group is already bringing in pollen. So what's the difference? The ones in the horizontal hive aren't bringing in pollen yet, but that one is. Here's another one. We're going to be opening up this entrance reducer very soon. They made it through winter in a single deep, and they are bringing in pollen like gangbusters. That entrance reducer is obviously too small for a hive as populated as this one is. So you could do some work here. Thank goodness for the weather that warmed up. This was a temporary hive I set up at the end of the summer last year because I knew they weren't going to make it through winter. And they did. Look at them. Lots of pollen coming in. This is a highly productive hive. Single 10 frame deep, and that's an original flow hive there. This one on the end also. Late summer capture. It was a swarm. There was no way they were going to make it through winter. And all you have to do is look at them to know that they made a liar out of me. That's why I actually ended up with a lot of extra bees. I ordered my Saskatraz bees ahead of time, expecting to lose about 5 colonies in my apiary. Turned out not to be the case. Now I have a surplus, so I had to expand again. Now all these landing boards are pretty normal. Some activity levels are higher than others, but I'm going to show you one that is very different, and it's going to be used as an education point here. This is a Flow Hive 2. This is the one that had Saskatraz bees in it last year, most productive colony. Look at that landing board and all the little brown spatterings all over it. That's right. This colony is being robbed out. So they came into spring weak, and the other bees are foraging right now. The dandelions are just starting to bloom, so there's not a lot of nectar resources in the environment. They're looking to rob each other. So I'm going to show you this one just to show what a defeated colony can look like in spring. And if you see behavior like this and spattering like that on a landing board, you've got a colony that's being robbed out. Here's another one. This was a swarm collected last year. They made it through winter. They also need a wider entrance reducer. I have a lot of work to do in this apiary right now because we've come out of snow to warm weather, and the bees just woke up like somebody turned a switch on. Flow Hive 2, cedar. This is one of the smaller 8-frame sizes, and these bees are doing fantastic. I'm leaving their entrance reducer in. They have about 4 inches width there. I think that's good. There's a high risk of robbing this time of year until the nectar flow truly kicks in. These are weaver bees. They're bringing in a lot of pollen, as you can see. They're very active. So you can assume they're queen right. If you see at least 10 bees per minute coming in with pollen when the weather's good, that's pretty good to go. We're going to have to do a full inspection of all of these, but now we're going to walk around behind. Notice, no bees are checking out this hive from behind. They're okay. No bees are checking out this hive from behind. Because let me tell you about robbing bees. They're a lot like other robbers. They come through entrances from the sides, from the back, and they try to get into hives any way they can. And look at this Flow Hive 2. The robbers are at the back. So other than the obvious landing board indicators, the little spattering and the detritus because they're ripping things open inside this hive, they're also on the back trying to get in, so it's just being robbed out. Now you might say, why don't you put a robbing screen on there? Why don't you save those bees? Well, to be honest, I caught it too late. This colony is pretty much doomed. There's nobody left in there to really fight. They don't have much of a brood pattern. Can't find the queen. So this is a doomed colony, and kind of just using it as an educational tool at this point to show you what it looks like when they're being robbed, because these are important indicators to know about if you're a beginning beekeeper. And if I'd caught this 2 days ago, I probably could have put a robbing screen on there which would redirect and not allow bees to fly directly in and directly out. But at this point, they're just too far gone. I can't salvage this colony. So we're going to be pulling everything apart there and changing that out by doing a split later. And remember, this is the new colony. This is the one that we're going to do the mite load tests on. They came at the same time with the same shipment as the ones that were installed in the Long Langstroth hive there. So we have 3 colonies with brand new boxes, brand new equipment, and we're going to be testing all of them for Varroa destructor mites to see if they came preloaded. But I have to say, looking at the bees early on, they're extremely healthy. There were almost no dead bees in the bottom of the bee buses. I'm talking 50 or fewer dead bees inside the bee bus. That is amazing considering how long they were in that and the fact that they were delivered in the snow. So we had terrible weather. Now, where do you put your bee bus or your package bees while you're waiting to install them. If the weather's bad, put them in your basement. 55 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit would be great, and keep them in the dark. When the dark and when they're kept at that temperature, they're not going to stay active and they're going to stay fresh much longer. Now look at this mirrored copper flashing here. I think this bee just thinks its reflection is fantastic. Look at that. How do you drown a narcissus bee? You put a mirror in the bottom of the drinker. Just kidding. I would never put a mirror in the bottom of a drinker. But bees on copper do look fantastic. Look at that coppery glow. Look at their amber legs. They know they look good. That's why they land on here. Now this is going to provide shade. It's going to provide shelter from rain. And it's just going to look good. In fact, looking at the bees on this copper makes me wish I'd put more copper flashing on the hive and other places. In fact, I may do an enhanced landing board. Even COVID-19 only lasts about 4 hours on a copper surface. That's right, it's true. So maybe down there at the bottom, I'll create an additional landing board and clad that with copper because I've got some left over. If you want some, I'm going to put a link down in the video description for that too. It's not copper plate, it's pure copper, and it's thick stuff. It's good, and copper is easy to work. And the nails that are holding it on are copper nails. That way you don't have any bimetallic exchange and no problems. So here we go. We're going to be updating this horizontal Long Lang throughout the summer, and we're going to see how the bees do. And of course, we're going to track them right through winter. And whether they make it or not, you're going to watch it with me. Thanks for being here today. I hope that your bees are doing great. And for those of you who are receiving packages, I hope the weather's cooperating and you can get them right out there right away. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching.